Cowboys defense can be equally disturbing. Nobody is tougher than the Bills' battered Bruce Smith. Not even the heavyweight champion father of the Cowboys, Ken Norton. Will victory fall into the hands of the Cowboys today? Or will the Bills not be let down this time?
The Sports Reporters with Dick Chapp.
Good morning again, and welcome to this special Super Bowl edition of the Sports Reporters. From poolside in Los Angeles, we're going to discuss the Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills with a Texan, a New Yorker, and an impartial Midwesterner. Skip Bayless, who publishes The Insider, a Dallas newsletter devoted primarily to the Cowboys. Mike Lupica of the New York Daily News, which this week considers Buffalo one of its suburbs. And Mitch Albom of the Detroit Free Press, which actually is closer to Buffalo than New York City is. But enough geography. Gentlemen, the pressing question, the punch that Magic Johnson's bodyguard delivered the other night to Darryl Talley, was that the same punch with which Muhammad Ali hit Sonny Liston in Lewiston, Maine?
Now,
Skip?
wait a second. There's a lot of debate this week. Marv Levy, who I think with the Bills broke the Super Bowl record for paranoia this week, denies that anything happened. And listen, I've been around the Cowboys. I stayed at their hotel all week, and they all saw it happen. Now, you can knock them for all being at the same.
There was even a coach on Buffalo who said they weren't in a bar. I mean, they all said they were in the bar.
What's your version, Michael?
Well, you know, it's amazing what you can still find out with good, hard-nosed investigative reporting. I asked my friend Hank Goldberg from Miami, who talked to the owner of the place, and he said that Darryl Talley ran into the famous Anthony. We don't actually have a last name yet, and words were exchanged, and Anthony hit him with a backhand, and Darryl said, God, look at the time.
This is Mr. A.
Yeah.
But this is how we're scraping for news this week. This has been sort of the lead story. Is it possible it was the same guys who beat up Steinbrenner in the elevator?
Well, that was my, Los Angeles, Phantom Punch, Steinbrenner.
It's no worse scraping than the year that Jim McMahon pulled his pants down and mooned a helicopter, and we were all talking about that for 3 days. It's what happens when you show up for 6 days and there's nothing going on.
In the old days, if guys were going to misbehave, they used to do it with a little style. You know, Max McGee before the first Super Bowl kissing the blonde goodbye on the steps of the Ambassador Hotel at 8 o'clock in the morning and then going out and catching passes. I think Namath probably missed a couple of curfews.
So Namath actually went to sleep the night before the game.
No, I just talked about the week before the game. I mean, I think he probably misbehaved somewhat. But these guys now it's just a guy named Anthony backhanding in a bar.
And the second biggest story is that there were some students leaning out dormitory windows watching practice. Did they get any secrets from the Cowboys?
No, that's from Buffalo again, breaking the record for paranoia. And
wait a minute.
Yes.
Well, your guy,
yes.
Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, he banned some
Did he
people
make
from
Leroy
practice.
Jordan leave practice?
Jerry Jones, the owner, backed them out, and it was some friends of Jerry's and Leroy, who's been a big follower of the Jimmy Johnson regime. They were getting into, to quote Jones, some sensitive areas, putting in
But
some...
the explanation I thought was great by Johnson. He said, first thing that happens, some guy sees you practice, and he talks to some guy, who talks to some guy, who talks to another guy, who tells another guy, and the next thing you know, the other team knows exactly what you're doing. I always worry about that in a big football game.
The only thing that we didn't have this week was like Joey Buttafuoco, involved in...
Hey, you just wanted to say that.
Still a few hours before the game.
No, but if you
I think he's the halftime show, isn't he?
If you had, Talley, Anthony Magic's bodyguard, and Joey Buttafuoco, then I think you have a good Super Bowl story.
Joey's the only celebrity who hasn't been here this week. Did anything real happen this week, Mitch?
No.
Well, that covers that. Let's talk about what's going to happen this afternoon. Is anything real going to happen this afternoon?
I have watched football and covered football for 20 years, and Dick, I have never been around a team that is so utterly confident that went through such a perfect Super Bowl week as the Cowboys say they did. They are truly, utterly confident, not overconfident now, not come in at 4 a.m., drink 12 beers confident, focused confident. I've never been around a coaching staff. It's startling over there at the hotel.
Isn't that usually when something goes wrong?
That's what I'm saying. I've been telling them all week, this is too good to be
usually when
true.
they fumbled the opening kickoff right after a week like that.
But you've had a good record this year on picking for them and against them. You've picked against them a few times.
I have picked against them, but they've been very consistent all year, and they've been very up and down before games. They've been very concerned about an Eagle game or a 49er.
Are you still upset because Buffalo is starting the wrong quarterback?
Well, I just think that if you've lost 2 Super Bowls, if you have a chance to lose a third and be regarded as the biggest chokers in the history of this game, I think you should play your best players. And I believe that at this time for the Buffalo Bills, Frank Reich's a better quarterback.
Now, I know you were just speaking for the sake of speaking there, but will they be known as the worst chokers in the history of the game?
I believe.
No,
wait a minute. They've twice come here with the best team and lost.
Who were the best chokers in the history of the game?
Well, I think you have to put the Vikings, you know, certainly up at the top.
Broncos qualify somewhere.
It's still just a 3-3 thing, and you know, they actually played a pretty good Super Bowl and should have won one of them. I don't think we can say that about the Denver Broncos or Minnesota. So,
well,
you know.
What happened in that game that I mean, because the kick went wide? They were so much better than the Giants. They're playing the Giants without their first-string quarterback, and it never should have come down to poor old
But wait a
Scott
second, Mike. Jim Kelly put them in position to win that game, and I think he's a very good quarterback. I think he's going to have a good game today.
He's the linchpin as far as I'm concerned, and I would be concerned if I were the coach, because really he's only played, what, 1 game in the last 6 or 7 weeks, and it wasn't a very good game. You know, people remember that Miami game by the score, but they don't remember it by Jim Kelly's performance. That was a pretty awful performance that he had in there, and unless it's just a warm-up for this game, it really would concern me if I were the coach.
You know who I think is a key player for them? I think Bruce Smith is a key player. I think if Bruce Smith, who's playing at a level that he has not played at in years, gets in Aikman's face early on, that would change. I mean, I think Dallas is going to win the game, but I think that's the one thing that could change your thinking about the
I'll tell you what, the Cowboy coaches totally agree with you, because they're playing a guy at left tackle that the Landry regime wanted to dump, named Mark Tuinei. I can't believe that the key Super Bowl match is Mark Tuinei and Bruce Smith. Bruce Smith could take over this game.
Yep.
He's that strong.
Yeah.
How about the 2 running backs? This is the first time in the history of a Super Bowl that we've had the 2 premier or almost premier running backs going against each other.
And usually what happens is the star running backs never do it in the big games. You know, you get a Timmy Smith or somebody will do it.
But you got a Riggins and a Marcus Allen who had great Super Bowl
I think
games.
Thurman Thomas supposedly presents you with more of a double threat, you know, the passing and the catching. But again, it's a question of the blocking up front and the question of the defense you're playing in. Emmitt Smith, by the time this game is over, is going to have his yards. Thurman Thomas, I don't know. I mean, he had 13 yards in the last Super Bowl, and everyone said, you know, he was a great player too. So I'm not sure about him.
It'll be interesting to see if the Cowboys can do what the Giants did a couple years ago, which made the no-huddle work for them. Even when the no-huddle worked, the Giants made it work for them because they ended up controlling the clock that day. Now, I don't know if Buffalo will take a different approach this time, maybe try to run the ball more early, take some of the heat off of Kelly. I don't know.
What has Wanstead been saying about the no-huddle and how he's going to react to it?
Scared to death of it. Really, they don't have a feel because they've had 2 weeks to prepare for a team they've never really played before, and they've had trouble now, this coaching staff has, coming from college football still, against a franchise that they haven't seen before. So they've been practicing with 2 offenses this week, jumping in very quickly to simulate the speed of the no-huddle. I think they're a little bit spooked by it, and I think Buffalo better use it. There have been some debate among the Cowboys about, well, maybe they'll bluff about it and then they won't use it at all. I think they should. So
The coaching contrast, Johnson and Levy.
Well, I think Johnson's handled it remarkably well for a guy who's here for the first time, and I think he's a big game coach. He's prepared for bowl games before. I think he did the smart thing with Wanstead, get that out of the way early. Nobody even bothered to. It was a non-story. It was smaller than the punch, the Dara Talley punch. And I think Marv Levy, when he heard that Talley story come out, he said, "Oh no, not again! I just want a calm week of practice." He's got to be uptight. I mean, let's face it, the pressure's on this guy. There's no pressure on Johnson.
It's so weird. The pressure is actually on the underdog. We'll talk more about that after we take this break.
Another good hair week, too, for Jimmy.
Oh,
you
great
know, in a long lineup.
A perfect hair week.
Sure.
Something to drink, sir?
Yeah.
We are back in Los Angeles talking Super Bowl, and 2 Super Bowl winners, Chuck Noll and Bill Walsh, were inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, or were elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame this weekend, but neither of them ever did what Jimmy Johnson has a chance to do, win a national championship in college and in pros. When you first met Jimmy Johnson, when he first came to Dallas, what was your reaction, Skip?
I was stunned at how irreverent he was toward Tom Landry. He just was oblivious to it, didn't want to talk about Tom Landry, and that's the only way to follow a legend. Now, people are now saying, well, is this a Dallas dynasty? Will they dominate the 90s the way the 49ers did the 80s? I say no. People underestimate. Jimmy was on his best behavior this week, and I think wowed you guys with his press conferences. He's a very volatile man, and I think the personalities involved in this organization are much more volatile than the old Cowboys, and it could come apart maybe even in a year or two, which is why they better seize the day today.
He did say something I found actually interesting during the press conferences some of the secrets of his coaching.
Yeah.
Number one, he said, I treat every player differently. Now, I often hear coaches say, I treat every player the same. Chuck Daly had that same philosophy with the Pistons. Every guy needs a certain amount of coddling, a certain amount of pushing. He also said, did Johnson, I pay attention to the guys who perform, and I ignore the guys who don't. And it's that whole thing back in college. You want to get the coach's attention. You want him to like you. You want him to be on your side. He also said, I go after team speed. I don't worry about statistics, bench pressing, things like that, which I thought was intelligent. And he said he builds from the defensive line and the quarterbacks, which is also an intelligent thing. So this is not a guy who just walked in and said, Jimmy Johnson's here. This guy had a plan, and I admire that plan.
He did say quickness more than speed, actually. But I mean, it was the old Lombardi thing when his players said he treats us all the same like dogs, but it wasn't true. He treated them all differently.
The thing I like about the Cowboys is there's a chance here that Jones and Johnson are absolutely going to beat each other's throats in about 20 minutes, no matter what happens on
15.
Sunday. Yeah, because I had a great story at the end of the regular season.
But can't Clinton settle this?
Jerry says, you know, I never go across the white lines, but he comes very, very close sometimes. They're playing a regular season game against the Bears, and they're getting sloppy at the end, and the smoke is starting to come out of Johnson's ears. And all of a sudden, he turns around, and there is Jerry Jones with this Saudi Prince Cowboys fan, and he's like introducing him around to the players in the bed. You know, yo, Emmett, Prince, Emmett, and Jimmy hit the roof, and nobody knew. The writers didn't know after the game why Johnson was so upset after a game that they'd won. Well, it turned out that Jerry had invaded what he considered his turf, and when this is all done, whether they win on Sunday or they win next year, Jerry and Jimmy both want to be able to say the same thing. I did it.
Yeah,
and
I think
eventually you're going to have to pry them off each other.
We were all surprised, I think, to find that out. I think the national perception was that these guys were best buddies and roommates, and they did everything together. They met after the games, had a beer, and said, let's trade this guy, let's trade this guy. That's not the way it works, apparently. In fact, I asked Johnson during the course of the week if he ever felt, if other coaches ever said to him, boy, you're lucky you get along so great with your owner. And the words were not even out of my mouth when he said, I don't use the word luck. I was one of the best college coaches in football, and if I hadn't been hired here, I would have been hired someplace else, and I'd probably be sitting here with another team. And I said, okay.
Yeah, and Jerry Jones, if you say to him, who's more the general manager, you or Jimmy, before the words are out of my mouth, he said, I am. So, you
And
know,
by the way, I think he knows football. He made 2 great trades for Charles Haley and Thomas Everett, and he was the driving force behind those, and those put this team in the Super Bowl.
when you say most of the personnel decisions have been made by Jimmy.
Yeah, I would say most, and he's an excellent evaluator of talent. But don't, hey, they're here, aren't they? It worked.
Oh, I love Jones. I think he's the star owner of
They're here
sports right now.
quickly.
But now, what I said, I mean, if they do explode, what happens next year? I mean, they can't get rid of each other, can they?
No, well, they could. I think Jones would just be cocky enough to get rid of Jimmy Johnson and
Would
go on.
Wannstedt hire him as an assistant?
There you go. Yeah, and don't underestimate how much Jimmy leans on Dave Wannstedt, who's going to take maybe 3 other assistants with him. That'll gut this very close family-like coaching staff next
I mean,
year.
Buddy Ryan has shown that you can go from being a head coach to being an assistant coach.
On the other hand, if you're going to say all that, you should point out, I think, that Dallas is a team that's going to spend money, and we're entering the age of free agency. And a team that's going to spend money in a market where people want to play, that'll get you national attention, is going to be able to replenish the stock a little bit faster than winning teams used to be able to do, having to rely on low draft picks.
Now, there's no question that Jerry Jones is a better football player than Wellington Mara was. Now, Mara has hired Dan Reeves. What effect is this going to have in New York?
Oh, I think Reeves is going to do fine. I mean, despite the fact that he brought teams here and was basically in the Super Bowl for about a half. I think 1/2 of the first one against
combined.
The Giants. Yeah, that's what I mean,
great.
yeah. But, you know, I just think that what the Cowboys have done, and if you're looking from the outside, this is the way you want to run your operation in sports. I think this has become, in 4 years, whether they win the big game or not, a model organization. And they streamlined it. You didn't have to have 42 guys in your scouting, and you didn't have to have a general manager, an assistant general manager. You have an owner who's daring and not afraid to take chances, and a coach who's not afraid to make deals. And
you have the Minnesota Vikings dumb enough to make that trade for Herschel Walker.
But
That's what you need.
Skip will have his book out next year about the Cowboys.
Yes.
Mitch will have his book out about the Fab Five. What's wrong with you and me? We'll talk about that over the break.
Big novel. Big
Basketball
novel
after
I'm
this
doing.
break.
Big novel.
Ray Skillman Oldsmobile and Ray Skillman Ford is having an after the holidays
Sunday, but there are other sports going on. And in the NBA, the Chicago Bulls have lost almost as many games so far this season as they lost all of last year. In Yorktown, the team won 2 straight championships and couldn't three-peat. What's going on with the Bulls?
And I remember Chuck Daly saying that the worst month of the regular season is January. because you're too far from the beginning to be fresh and too far from the end to see the playoffs in sight. It's very hard in your third year to get up for those regular season games. Meanwhile, every town that you go to, they're marqueing it. Here come the Bulls for our one opportunity, so they're coming after you. You're disinterested. I hate to say that because people pay good money to go see basketball games, but it's true. I can't imagine the Bulls being interested in these games. They're going to lose them. They're not as deep as you would like a team to be, and that might carry you through some of these games. But I do think still when you get to the playoffs, they're going to be a team to contend with.
January is the August of basketball.
January, yes.
The Phoenix Suns broke San Antonio's winning streak at 10 games in Phoenix, which is sort of understandable. Was it important? Did it establish something? Did it mean something?
Well, the Suns are they're 3 points and 1 stupid call away from being on about a 22 or, I forget, game winning streak right now. I mean, they lost a very tough game in San Antonio. They're very good. Richard Dumas has added an element. He's a slasher. Barkley thinks that, it's not going to take very long for this kid to be one of the 10 best players in the league. He makes them even more explosive than they already will. Danny Ainge scored 26 points, coming off a bad game where he had won the game for the Suns against the Timberwolves. They are as much fun to watch as anybody right now, and that would be they're going to be a formidable opponent come playoff time.
Richard Dumas is not showing proper appreciation to John Lucas.
Yeah, well, I don't think Luke cares about that too much.
Skip, have you had a chance to look at other things while you've been down here for football?
Yes, I have. And by the way, any team built around Charles Barkley will fold in the playoffs, I'm convinced. Of course, I have to watch the Dallas Mavericks.
This is a man who lives with the Dallas Mavericks, so folding is a key subject.
Yes.
No, that's not right about him.
You don't believe
I think this is
I
his
don't think it is,
chance,
no.
and he knows it. And I think that he's having an MVP season. I think he will be the MVP at the end of the season, and they're going to the finals.
No, but that was said quickly and flippantly, but
I believe that. And I've talked to a lot of people in the NBA. Just heart, I think he's really afraid in the end. A lot of NBA people I've talked to said that come real big-time, clutch time, he really doesn't want the ball.
Don't you think you can learn that, though,
Maybe.
as you go on? I mean, he did play on the Olympic team. He's had opportunities. Philadelphia was almost an impossible situation to win in there anyhow. But I do think you can acquire
Skip, who are you talking to? People in the Mavericks player personnel department?
Few of those. And they got more than the Cowboys do, by the
people.
way.
I mean, this guy is, Paul Westfall's an old friend of mine. He says the thing that's been amazing to him this year is how hard this guy plays every night. He says if you're going to let little things bother you, sure, Charles will drive you crazy.
It's a long
but
ways
this
to
guy
go, Mike.
wants the ball at the end, and he's played great this year.
Okay, we'll take that. But let me switch to the Portland Trailblazers this week. Accusations, sexual escapades. Don't people learn from the Magic Johnson?
No, I never was one of those people who felt that the NBA players would change because of Magic Johnson. I would venture to say the night that the announcement came out about Magic, there would probably be a dozen players sleeping with strangers, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. What went on with the Portland players apparently was not denied by anybody. A couple of 15, 16-year-old girls, obviously in a groupie mentality, and a couple of players in a hotel room. This is not the first time this has happened, and the only reason it came up is because they thought they might press criminal charges. I think it's sad.
The thing that's amazing to me about this is it just enough that the players say they were misled by the girls about their age? Does that absolve them of any responsibility for having this kind of scene with underage girls?
I'm not sure what the particular state laws are there, and I think that's a question. The police said because they had reason to believe that it was consensual and they were not misled, then it was okay. I'm not an expert on that state's law, so I'm not going to say
Louis
I
Polonia
understand
said that time in Milwaukee that he didn't know how young the girl was, and he ended up in the slammer.
Doesn't it prove, though, that we could go through 5 Magic Johnson tragedies and athletes in this society would still think they're above all the laws and indestructible?
Well, and the fact is the temptation is there, the opportunities are there. The 3 of us probably don't have these possibilities and don't have to worry about it.
Hey, whoa.
I said 3.
Dick.
And Mike, you're over on another side.
You'll all
Dick
have an
Shaft the
opportunity.
way I do.
You'll all have an opportunity for a parting shot after these messages. Fires first.
Well, Dick, to paraphrase Alan Sherman, hello, Mutta, hello, Fada, here I am doing nada. The parties have been good, food has been great, but as far as the news this Super Bowl week, there is no news. Nothing happened, nothing ever happens during Super Bowl week. The nation's media would never show up 6 days early for the World Series or NBA Finals, but year after year we storm into town on Monday of Super Bowl week like we're going to miss some story like Jim Kelly popping open a Budweiser. Yeah. This is just the way it is for the Super Bowl. We're part of this great boondoggle with the NFL to help hype this game so it gets bigger and bigger until it's bigger than the ozone layer. That way the ratings stay high, we make a lot of money, and they can pay for all those open bars that they have during the week. The truth is, we don't need to be here. We could come in Sunday morning, cover the game, and fly out Sunday night. Then again, it's 78 degrees, the pool is full, and the buffet lines are open. So in the immortal words of Emily Latella, never mind.
Your turn, Michael.
It was announced this week that Howard Cosell will enter the Hall of Fame for the National Association of Sportscasters and Sports Writers. And it's about time for this organization or anyone like it. This has nothing to do with the friendship I once shared with Cosell or the bitter differences that we later had. And it really has nothing to do with the beatings he took over the years from members of this profession, living and dead. Howard Cosell goes into the Hall of Fame for all the right reasons. He was an original who came in and changed everything. In his foghorn way, he became one of the singular and unforgettable characters of the business. And on top of the things he said and the things he did, Cosell did one other thing. He put more life into the business than anyone who ever lived. I still wish he'd show up once in a while and work a Monday night. And considering the alternative today, I wish he were working Super Bowl 27.
And he'll come and take your seat here some
Probably
Sunday.
will.
Skip.
I agree, Mike. This is for Cowboy quarterback Troy Aikman. I hope you're watching right now, Troy. I know you watch this show. I heard you were watching about 3 years ago when I sat in this very same hot seat, and I said the Cowboys made a mistake, and I made a mistake here too, because I said they traded the wrong guy. They traded Steve Walsh and kept you. I said that was a mistake, and that caused a very rocky relationship between the two of us here for the last 3 years. I'm here today, same seat, to say I was wrong, Troy Aikman. Now, you've come along and had a great year this year, terrific year. You've come so far, and the point is, now, I'm going to have a little problem today if you don't seal the deal and you throw 4 interceptions, but I'm really just kidding about that, Troy, because I was wrong. You've had a great year.
Troy, I knew he was wrong.
I knew he was wrong, too.
We always liked you. The rest of us really liked you.
I loved you, Troy.
An international business class ticket, an international business class.
Quarters is brought to you by Subaru. It's what to drive.
A man who played in the first 2 Super Bowls for the Green Bay Packers died yesterday. His name was Ron Kostelnik, and he was a friend of mine. He may not have been the most talented of the Packers, but he was certainly one of the nicest. Kostelnik came from a little mill town in western Pennsylvania, and when he got out of high school, he had a choice of going to 2 colleges. He was offered scholarships at the University of Cincinnati and at local Shippensburg State. He chose Cincinnati, he told me, because he wanted to see the world. I just wish Ron could see more of the world. Stay tuned for Sportscenter, coming up with Robin Roberts.
Are 12-6 against the line. The team with the better overall record coming in, simply wins and losses, in this case Dallas, is 17-7 against the line. But for your Buffalo boosters, and this could be a key today, the team that stops the run better coming into this game covers more than 2/3 of the time.
Well, stopping the run against Emmett and Thurman is, I would say, a major task for both teams today. All right, everyone's got an opinion, and I know you've teed this up pretty high. You're on.
I think this game breaks down by turnovers, Chris. I really do. I know that's an easy thing to say in the Super Bowl,
true.
But I think it breaks down by turnovers, quite frankly. And strangely, that's an area that hurts the Bills, the veteran team, not the kid team, the Dallas Cowboys. The veteran Bills, not the young Cowboys, have made the mistakes. Their hurry-up offense creates havoc for the opposition. But for the Bills, haste often makes waste. Buffalo has turned it over 35 times the last 15 games. That's an enormously high figure for a championship-level team like the Bills. Dallas, meanwhile, has coughed it up just 19 times their last 14 games. This game between seemingly even teams eventually breaks open on multiple key Buffalo turnovers. Those mistakes have led to the Bills already being drilled by 17 or more points 3 times this year. Consistent and lately nearly flawless Dallas pops this one open in the second half.
Well, you've been riding Dallas pretty good, and they have enjoyed your ride. Maybe you should be a jockey.
It is amazing, given their youth, the consistency and the flawlessness of this club.
Yes, you cannot tell that they're the youngest team in the National Football
League. Not at all.
The way they have handled this week it just speaks of what they're made of. All right, you're on record, Norm.
Okay.
I can't say I'm surprised.
I have a funny feeling where you're going on this.
No news here with these picks. We'll have ours on game day, though, when we return at the top of the hour at noon Eastern time. But now let's kick it back to Robin, Beb.
Well, Beb, we already know who you're going with. We saw the Swami for 3 years in a row. You have gone with the Buffalo Bills. I like Dallas, and I'm a little frightened now that Norm has gone with them because I think a lot of what he said. But I think it's more 35-21. I know. Now I'm a little antsy, but still I think that he's on the nose. But we know you love the Bills.
Well, look, it's my story. I'm sticking with it. I mean, I've picked them 3 years in a row. I'm sorry. That's all I know. It's a change of time zone. If they don't win here next year, they'll play it at Aloha Stadium and out in Hawaii. After that, they'll play it in Tahiti. They'll keep coming back to another time zone until they get it right.
Until they get it right. Well, let's just hope it's a good game. We haven't seen one. Well, 2 of the last 4 have been competitive, but I think a late touchdown will push it to 14.
All right, you're on record too.
Oh, gee, I love that. We'll see you on game day at noon.
All right, Rob.
You're looking good there. Nice sun.
Thanks, babe.
All right, babe. I'm shoveling the snow for you back here, all right? The heavyweight of the NFL will be crowned tonight, and next Saturday, Riddick Bowe will step back into the ring as a heavyweight.
Big plays by Harper and big plays by Irvin and great throws and great calls and all those things, but week in and week out, the thing that makes this Dallas offense work is Emmitt Smith.
And I'll put in a vote for Norv Turner, the offensive coordinator.
Oh, you got a vote now? We're voting?
Now, wait a while.
Well, one apiece here.
You get a vote, but I get a refute. Emmitt Smith's 100-yard games are all gained in the second half after the Dallas Cowboys throw a lot of passes in the first half.
No, it's because they pounded on their opponent for 30 minutes in the first half.
Allie Sherman bringing out the statistics when needed.
The game's first offensive play against the 49ers, a pass, tells us what the Cowboys' offensive philosophy is all about. You see Dallas in the I formation with Smith the deep back, and wide receivers Harper and Irvin both split to the left. Now, take a look at that 49ers defense. They're in their standard 4-down linemen and 3 linebacker alignment, and they're looking primarily for run. And take note of linebacker Bill Romanowski. He is in a defensive back position, having slid out in front of Harper. Now remember, first down is as much a passing down as it is a running down for the Cowboys. And it's whatever Dallas wants to dictate with. This is going to be a first down pass. And focus your attention on Michael Irvin. Irvin will run a sideline out at exactly 18 yards. He drives the corner back with an accelerated change of pace that only the great receivers understand and truly master. Let's take it back to the snap. And this time, concentrate on the precise timing and rhythm between Aikman and Irvin. At this point, Aikman's going to deliver the ball, knowing exactly where Irvin will be, 18 yards at the sideline. The Cowboy philosophy of pass or run on any down creates the maximum pressure on defenses and makes it easier for them to achieve consistent pass execution over 4 quarters, beginning from play 1. Now, when play number 62 comes up, and now they're in a must-protect-the-lead situation, only for the other teams is throwing the football a bold and gutsy call. For the Cowboys, it is just part of their main offensive heartbeat to establish and maintain mental and physical pressure on that defense for all of the 4 quarters. This is not an offense that just works off the running of Emmitt Smith. It is an offense that's structured to build and achieve consistency in Aikman, bearing in mind that your quarterback, not the running back, produces the best percentage shot at championship offense.
And while certainly the Cowboys have all the talent in the world on the field, upstairs calling the signals, Norv Turner, we've all been impressed with him this year.
That's very perceptive. Charlie, that's a great name, isn't it? Norv Turner for an offensive coordinator, a natural. Yes, he has done a magnificent job. First, he got what we talked about on an earlier show, the mechanics of quarterbacking. He's got Troy Aikman into a position where he's got all the mechanics down. And now Troy Aikman understands the game, and he knows what he is. He doesn't force the ball like he used to, and he's an excellent passer with tremendous receivers that Turner has made use of with a real top offense. By the way, the other team has a great offense, too. Both of them throw the ball before they run. I don't think the runner is the key to good offense. You've got to get those linebackers who are coached to stop run loosey-goosey, worrying about the pass. Then you run.
Boy, conceptually, we have a little difference of opinion here.
Okay, just an opinion.
I would like to echo the coach's sentiments. Norv Turner has done a terrific job. But I think when Walt Corey and that Buffalo defensive coaching staff looks at Dallas, in their mind, they're saying, we've got to stop Smith. Now, it all starts there. And certainly, Aikman has had a terrific second half of the season. He's been terrific in the playoffs, but Emmitt Smith is the guy they have to stop.
You don't think so?
Oh, I don't think they have to stop him first. Because, again, you look at these two clubs. They are hey, let's go real world. Pittsburgh against Buffalo. Pittsburgh has a tremendous back, right? Forster?
Barry Foster.
Okay. And he ran for his 100 yards plus, 5-yard average, but their quarterback, O'Donnell, couldn't do things with the ball that he should with the passing game. And he put Buffalo into position with their intercepts when he got sacked or forced the ball and got intercepted. You've got to have that passing game in today's game.
Now you're talking about the particular quarterback's play, which is different than a conceptual plan. The quarterback has to perform, which O'Donnell didn't. I believe Aikman will perform well. He's more disciplined. But when a defense looks at the film, the guy they have to stop is, in my opinion, Emmitt Smith.
With that, let me tell you that this year, Edge Shave Gel is proud to sponsor the Edge NFL Man of the Year Award. Edge presents the award to the league's top citizen athlete, honoring that player for superior performance in off-the-field community service and playing excellence as well. This year's Edge NFL Man of the Year, Denver Bronco quarterback John Elway. And Edge Super Bowl matchup is back in just a minute. You know, so much has been made about the domination of the NFC over the AFC over the past 8 Super Bowls. And all you have to do is look at the scoreboard, 297 to 125, the NFC over the AFC. But there are a lot of reasons for that. And basically, it goes to the battle in the trenches, the oldest question in football. Who wins the line of scrimmage? There, it's been no contest. The domination belongs to the NFC. The large offensive lines of the NFC have generally manhandled the smaller, swifter defensive lines of the AFC. 2 years ago, the Giants methodically ground down the Bills, controlling the ball for 40 minutes, as MVP Otis Anderson did the bulk of the grunt work. In Super Bowl 22, the Hogs opened gaping holes for a journeyman running back named Timmy Smith, who set a Super Bowl record with 204 rushing yards against an outmanned Denver defense. And the NFC's big offensive lines have not only created the holes for the running backs to run, they've also provided sufficient protection for their quarterbacks. Super Bowl 21. Phil Simms completed a Super Bowl record, 88% of his passes. The next year, Doug Williams threw for 340 yards and 4 touchdowns, winning the game's MVP honors in the process. And Joe Montana named the MVP in 3 of his 4 Super Bowl appearances. But the AFC quarterbacks, often playing catch-up, haven't had nearly the success of their NFC counterparts. John Elway's 3 Super Bowl appearances produced 3 losses by a total of 96 points. Jim Kelly threw 58 passes last year against the Redskins, which produced 28 completions, 2 touchdowns, and 4 costly interceptions. The NFC has dominated on defense as well. In fact, in the last 8 Super Bowls, the NFC representative ranked among the league's top 5 defenses that season, and they were generally anchored by surefire Hall of Famers, like Mike Singletary. The Bears caused 6 turnovers in that 46-10 romp of the Patriots. And it was Ronnie Lott who spearheaded a 49er defense that gave up an average of but 13 points in San Francisco's last 2 Super Bowl appearances. Lawrence Taylor and Pepper Johnson, giant juggernauts in Super Bowl 25, as the high-powered Bills were held to just 19 points. Control of both sides of the line of scrimmage and some remarkable quarterback play. It's simple, the NFC's formula for success. All right, Ryan, what is your theory as to why the NFC has really dominated the AFC?
Charlie, the game of football really hasn't changed in over 100 years. That's blocking and tackling. And the teams that block and tackle the best usually win. NFC management has made a real concerted effort to establish themselves as physical football teams, a physical football conference. And consequently, they have won more because the AFC has gone soft.
Well, what do you think, Coach?
There's an established fact that the teams that get to championships are good teams that have good defense along with their offense. The AFC, for whatever the evolution was, never really developed good defensive clubs, and a perfect real-world example is 3 Super Bowl games of the Denver Broncos, who beat everybody in their conference and didn't know that they didn't have that good a defense. They go in there against an NFC club and couldn't get their offense going, and the NFC club not only has a good defense over these years, but they've had good offense too, and they take the game away. They blew Denver out 3 times. That's the winner of the AFC.
Up next on Edge Super Bowl matchup, the Dallas Cowboy defense ranked #1. How will they handle the #2 ranked offense in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills? And that hurry up and come on back to Edge Super Bowl matchup in just a minute.
The Edge superior performer for the 1992 season, Dallas Cowboy running back Emmitt Smith. With over 1,700 yards, Smith became the first rushing champion in NFL history to lead his team to the Super Bowl.
Offense is in many ways quite a bit like the Dallas Cowboy offense in that you have a terrific running back, a great third down receiver, and Metzlars in this case, 2 veteran, reasonably tall wide receivers that get the job done, and if you throw in Beebe, you really have 3. What makes this Buffalo offense so good?
Well, their talent, as you just spoke about, is superior to a lot of football teams. Also, conceptually, they do a lot of things very well. I love the no-huddle. They dictate what they want to do with the football, and throughout the season, even the last couple of years where we've seen this no-huddle, in action, boy, it always moves the football. But you have to have the guy behind the wheel, and old Jim Kelly. He recognizes things very quick and gets them into the right play.
And Frank Reich was able to do that, too. What's your take on this Buffalo offense?
Don't forget Thurman Thomas, the runner.
One of the best in the business.
My take on this is that if you dance to the tune that Buffalo wants to play, and that's, as Ron mentioned, they got that no-huddle. That is the one beast of its kind in the league. Nobody else does it. The biggest problem confronting the Buffalo Bills is the week that you get ready to play them. You have to get used to that no-huddle, and you've got to have your guys imitating that no-huddle and running those plays. And you know, football people, as we all know, are people of habit and certainly good structure, and nobody has seen this. And as a result of that, I say that you must go get Jim Kelly and make him get hurried and worried. Thurman Thomas will get his 100 yards, but he's not going to beat you. You've got to get Kelly out of that rhythm where he can hit those receivers as he does.
And that's going to be the key on Sunday. Jim Kelly and the Buffalo offense, and here's Ron.
Let's start by looking at the Bills against the 49ers. San Francisco's defense is similar in approach to the Cowboys. The 4-man rush and a high percentage of zone pass coverage. The 49ers tried to match their defensive personnel with the Bills' offensive personnel by quickly substituting between plays. Here you see Buffalo with Thomas as the single back, tight end Metzlars on the right, and Gardner, the H-back, on the left. So the Niners react with their base 4-3 defense, as you see. Jim Kelly immediately recognizes this. He also sees the free safety in the middle of the field, knowing he has Reed and Lofton split to the left. Watch Jim call the play. With Metzlars and Gardner in the game, the 49ers are playing the strong run tendency. The call will be a play-action pass to Reed at 18 yards on the left sideline. You'll see the defensive back react to the play fake in the backfield. Lofton on the outside will run a go route. What that does is force the free safety to respond to the vertical stretch and create a void in the Niners' pass coverage. This is how the Bills aggressively attack and break down defenses that attempt to match personnel. You're allowing Kelly to dictate with the no-huddle. In the AFC Championship game, the Dolphins committed to a 4-2-5 defense. 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs, and they stayed with it. And the reason was this. Buffalo's most used formation has Beebe, Reed, and Lofton as the 3 wideouts, along with Thomas the single back and Metzlars at tight end. That's 5 strong receivers. Without at least 5 DBs, you are open to the big play possibility on every single play. And that's not a chance any defense wants to take. But that leaves you vulnerable to the run. And that's why the Buffalo offense is so hard to match up against. With only 6 and sometimes 5 defensive players at the point of attack, there are more openings for Thomas on the inside and on the outside. And the defensive force man is usually a smaller defensive back. No match here for pulling tackle Will Wolford. Thomas won't be touched until he picks up more than 15 yards. In the Super Bowl, I believe the Bills must run the ball early and often against a Cowboy defense that will be key to stopping the big play from Jim Kelly and his wideouts.
Can the Bills run on the #1 rushing defense, the Dallas Cowboys, who gave up an average of only 77 yards on the ground per game this season?
Charlie, yes, they can, because they dictate what they want to do offensively. By their formation structure with 3 wide receivers, they make you make the change to take a linebacker out, maybe take 2 linebackers out, and force matchups with big people on little people. And yes, you know, in the NFL, there are no little people, but there are a lot big people, too. When you got the guys 300 pounds hitting guys 185, that's a pretty good mismatch. So the Bills can run the football because Dallas likes to make a lot of changes. They're not going to be allowed to make those changes.
Dave Wanstead has said all along he doesn't plan on making very many changes defensively.
Well, wait a while. He's pretty sly. He may be putting a little smoke screen in there. If he doesn't, if he thinks he's going to go in with his platoons, he's dead in the water. I mean, Buffalo will just take him out of it. But I think that he's smart enough, and he shows that he has good judgment. He's going to be in there possibly with any, as I said earlier, 12 to 15 people that he will use. Get in there. But what he's got to do is make sure that he can hurry Kelly, no matter what they do against the run. Really, that is not the primary basis. You can't beat Buffalo stopping Thurman Thomas because Kelly just gets that ball, again, to how you aptly described it.
Coach, when you talk hurry, do you mean blitz?
No, if they have to blitz. But I'm glad you brought that up. Remember, this is very important in the Dallas front line. They have the greatest team speed of all in the league. I think that's a fair statement. Is that true? Okay, we're going to eliminate a little controversy here. They have the greatest team speed, and those front linemen, and we're talking about Charles Haley and Casillas and Maryland and Tolbert, those guys are capable of beating a blocker by themselves. So they can get a lot of 4-man pressure up there and still have those linebackers who are capable of going to the passer or covering. That's where I think they've got a very good defensive setup if he uses just 12 to 14 people.
We have reached that point in the program for final points and predictions on Super Bowl 27 here on Edge Super Bowl Matchup, and we'll get to it in just a minute.
The Midas matchup for Super Bowl 27.
Well, for the final time for this season, our final points and predictions. Who's going to win Super Bowl 27, Coach?
I believe the Dallas Cowboys are, Charlie, and this has been a tough one. These are 2 terrific football teams, terrific offenses and good defense. But after a reservation and looking at the fact that Dallas has been there 2 weeks that they've never had to experience before, and now they're facing an offense that they've never seen, that no-huddle offense, I still believe that the first 30 plays in the ball game are going to tell us and the folks out there who's in command. And I think that Dallas, who plays no down or distance, they could throw 8 balls in a row, run 4 times in a row, but they know what they're doing, and they're very good on offense, and I think they're going to take it against Buffalo.
Ron, who do you like?
Well, Charlie, first of all, let me apologize to my family and friends in my hometown of Buffalo, New York.
What's left of them?
Yeah, what's left of them, right?
After this pick.
Yeah, I believe the Cowboys are going to win this game. Primarily, Up front, they're bigger and stronger. I think they'll run the football effectively. That will cause the Buffalo linebackers to cheat up. It'll cause Jones and Kelso to get a little nosy, start getting involved in the running game, and then I believe Buffalo will be exposed. Their cornerbacks, I believe, are their weakness. Now they're in trouble. I like the Cowboys.
Their cornerbacks are also their shortest. They're 5'9" and 5'10", and Irvin and Harper 6'2" and 6'3", and they can really exploit that height
That's
advantage.
one of your great statistics.
And it actually works, too. I like the Dallas Cowboys also, and I like them especially because of the offensive line play, and I think they'll dominate the defense of the Buffalo Bills. That's going to do it for us. It's been another fun year, guys.
Call me a maniac or something. I'm not ready for that.
What do you feel like when they call you a maniac? Does that upset you? Do you get upset?
I feel great. I think it's a compliment because I'm a football player. They think I'm crazy and wild and slobbering around, so I think that's good.
Okay, yeah. Well, Harris, you know, this is your first time on MTV. Is there anything you want to say to anybody in particular?
Hey, where's Julie Brown?
Oh, okay, I'm leaving.
Where's downtown? No,
downtown
no,
Julie
you're
Brown.
all right.
Actually, she's right over there. See her right there. With the, that's her. Yeah, with the Chiefs.
Julie Brown, right
Hi,
here.
Julie. Put some clothes on. Anyway, so we're looking forward to a great game today. You know, we got some players here, and actually, I don't know if you guys can tell, but Bill and I were actually working out this morning a little bit. You know, because we knew you were going to be here, and we didn't want to look too small.
Yeah, can I ask you?
I saw your golf game last year. I hope your football game's a little better than your golf game.
It's go time, man. Hold my mic.
No, come on, Bill. Come on, step back, step back. Come on, Bill. No, Bill, step back. It's no good, Bill. No, come on, come on. No, it's not the right time, Bill. It's not the right time. It's not the right time. It's not the right time. Okay. All right, things are getting a little out of hand here. We'll be back with more interviews. And Bill Murray, after we check in with Bill Bellamy, taking a look at the fans of the Dallas Cowboys. Take it away, Bill.
This is Bill Bellamy, and I'm sitting here having a good time with the people in Dallas right here at the Paramount Club. But earlier today, I talked to some people on the street, and this is how it went. Tell me, you're expert on partying. I know you are a party animal. Tell me, what will you do after the Super Bowl and the Dallas wins? What will you do?
I'll be at a party at Henrietta Herndon's house that afternoon, having a great time.
We are going to party big time down here.
This place is going to go wild.
Tell me, how many points are the Buffalo Bills going to score? See, I told you, none! Nothing! I'm writing these officers a ticket for minding my business. Tell me why you like the Cowboys so much, man.
Well, I've been a fan for a long time, and right now they're the best in the league.
We got Aikman, Emmett, Irvin, Harper. I can go on and on. Where do you want me to stop? Bennett, Smith, you're going down. You're going down when we hit Pasadena.
You see that? All the fans in Dallas are cool, and we're having a great time. So back to California you go.
Thank you, Bill. That's right. You know what time it is. We're back in sunny Pasadena, California. Super Bowl 27, Bill Murray, NFL players. How's everybody doing today? How you guys are doing? Wait, you know what? Let's do this. I always wanted to do this. So you used to watch a Bob Hope thing where you come out and say your name and position. Could you guys just do that for me? Ready? Go.
Brian Noble, linebacker, Green Bay. Browning Nagel, quarterback, Jets.
Hayward Jeffries, Houston Oilers.
From the University of North Carolina State, am I correct?
Yeah, I went to North Carolina State.
Okay, I went to Carolina. It's go time. Sorry, Bill. You already used that. No, okay, all right.
Stay out of it.
No.
Oh.
Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead, man. So what's going on? Did you guys have any predictions for the games today? What do you think?
It's going to be nice weather out there.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, did you wear the sunblock?
No, I come from Green Bay. I need as much sun as I can possibly get.
Okay, I agree with that. You notice Bill actually has a little extra protection on today. You can't really see it, but fine job, Bill.
I've had it all redone. Yeah. Can I ask you a question? What's it like to get a concussion? That's something I always wanted to know.
Well, it's not a good feeling. It's like a lineman eating a lot of food and you're throwing up.
Oh, great. That happened just yesterday, yeah.
It sounds like bulimia, but it's,
exactly.
Yeah, it's the same thing, really.
Yeah.
All right. Browning, do you have any prediction on the game today?
Yeah, the Bills, AFC.
The Bills, AFC, plain and simple?
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. Well, a man of many words, Browning Nagel there, the Jets. Well, you just get straight to the point, you know?
Browning, do you feel funny that other people are talking in the huddle? I mean, do you feel threatened by the fact that other people are talking in the huddle right now?
Well, no, that's all right. You know, as long as they're going to shut up when I talk, you know, that's all that matters.
Okay, are you finished? All right. I didn't want to step on you there. Okay, great. So you want to give us can I get a look at this watch? Just real quick. Let me check my hair in there. Okay, great. Thanks very much. Actually, you know, I got a watch just like that on a street corner in New York City. It looks really nice.
There's a wig that comes with this watch.
Really?
Oh, that's a whole spool of watches like that at home.
Really? Okay, all right. So what else do we got going on? You know, we got the predictions here. We got the fans who I don't know what happened to them all of a sudden. I think you guys are intimidating them. But who knows? Okay, but, you know, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to make my prediction right now, Bill. I think I'm going to say, no, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it, okay, just because I really...